While roaming with the new horse I just found, I came across an area that was relatively quiet and there were nodes, so I began farming. So this is a really high pop server, so I'm just gonna go as far as I can down south. The more I roamed, the more I felt overwhelmed. There were players everywhere, but I kept my head up and I continued marching past all the bullets and arrows because I was determined to find my place. The night was too dark for me to get anything done, so I spent my time gazing at the moon. But as I was staring at the bright circle in the sky, I noticed an island in my line of sight. Could this be my new home? The island was empty except for one small starter base. After checking the lock, I knew it was a solo, so my tension released. I was gonna give this island a shot. I liked that the island was so far away that no one wanted to be here. Those type of places, those are my favorite. And in the middle of the wintry trees, I decided to set down my base. Now, this was the first time I'd be using this base on a real server, so I knew I'd face challenges, but I was ready to embrace them all. The most important part of trying out a new base is understanding exactly how to build the starter base, because once you nail that, it gives you enough time to think about your work and make sure the following steps are right.
Baby Juice said deadass got ditched anyway, so I am off to now. Baby Juice said and don't have headphones to call you. Baby Juice said hate my life. Baby Juice said I already got off. Baby Juice said face her too. Baby Juice said I'm just very sad RN.
Hello everyone! Base
Baby
design
Juice said just
videos
wanted to
are
hang out with
great.
my friend, but because someone guy has full
Although
body
some
I get
wise
ignored
men once
completely.
said, give the man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach him how to fish and he'll eat forever. In this video, we will be talking about building in Rust. All the way from the fundamentals to making a strong and most importantly viable and livable base design from scratch using all the knowledge you acquired. We will also be breaking down some known building exploits and how to take advantage of them and implement them in your own base design. For the sake of keeping you guys attentive throughout the video, this is the plan we will follow. The basics of base building. Base building in Rust is simple to understand, yet extremely difficult to master. But the basics of it should always be respected, no matter how big you want to make your base. These basics are: always place your TC in the safest place possible in your
Baby Juice
base.
said also he
The
talked shit about
safest
me
place
because I called
is
him gross
usually
and
the
said you're gross, you
deepest
don't even
and
talk.
furthest from the outside, both through doors, walls, and floors. Always upgrade your foundations when you upgrade the walls on top of them, especially if you have high foundations. Having more doors and airlocks lowers the chances of somebody getting to your loot if they kill you when you open your door. And of course, it goes without saying that if you plan to upgrade your base in the future or have a compound, then you might look for a flatter area to build, away from rat towns and roads to avoid being
Baby
building
Juice said I'll be on
blocked.
quest and will
As it
probably
can be
fall
pretty
asleep pretty fast, not gonna
frustrating
lie.
to be able to place the last wall to your compound because of a rat town blocking you. Now that we took a look at
Baby
the
Juice said
cover
work
of the
it.
base building book, let's open it and read the first chapter. Criteria of strength in a base. Or in other words, what makes a base strong?
Baby Juice said I was
You
just
might
gonna
think
stay
to
up.
answer, a strong base is a base that requires
Baby Juice
the
said I
most
don't know though.
explosives to reach the main loot and the TC. Well, yes, but actually no. See, while building a base with a set amount of resources, you need to balance the base between having mobility inside, which is the ease of navigating through the base, defendability, as of providing ways to defend an online raid, which is usually having a shooting floor or inner peak downs to be able to kill the raiders yourself, and explosive costs to reach the TC or the main loot. You can't have all of this, so you need to keep in mind what your focus should be while building your base. The needs may vary from one person to another. For example, a decent sized group would want to easily walk through the base without it being crowded, and also they would want to be able to defend their base from an online raid, as they have much more chances of winning than a solo. So they would rather sacrifice some honeycombing for inner peak downs, for example, and would sacrifice some roof stacking for a shooting floor or roof access. For this particular group, having a defendable base is safer than having a strong, tight, bunkered base with only.
Footprints are the most important thing when it comes to base building. If your footprint sucks, your entire base will suck. And if they are good, your base will most likely turn out good. But many people struggle with thinking of footprints, and many people complain
Baby Juice said I wanna
about
hang, but if I
bases
fall
being
asleep, please don't be sad at me.
But this isn't always the builder's fault. There aren't just a lot of footprints. In this video, I want to show you the most common ones that I know and give some pros and cons for each of them for you to decide which one you want to use for your next base. And with this, welcome to a new video by me, Daft of Building. Thank you all so much for me hitting 500 subscribers. In this video, I'll be showcasing you something for the newest of builders, some footprints upon which you can build your base. Let's begin with probably the most common base in Rust, the 2x2. As you can see, it is just 2x2 foundations. 2x2s are commonly built with an additional triangle airlock on the edge like this. The pros of the 2x2 are that it is easy to build, that it has good expandability at the beginning, and that it has a lot of very easy to access storage. Now to the cons of building a 2x2. Because of their design, it is very hard to add more than one layer of honeycomb without doubling the upkeep of the base. Also, the raid cost won't ever get super high due to the loot being so concentrated in the center, making it easy to splash damage. Now to the other most common base design in Rust, the 2x1. This is just two square foundations next to each other, often with a triangle airlock to its edge like this. Its pros are quite similar to the ones of the 2x2. It is easy to build and has good expandability from a starter, but unlike the 2x2, it has a very limited loot room space, not making it a viable option for bigger groups, and expanding from it is very limited. Now to the X. In my opinion, it is kinda like a 2x2 on steroids. It has huge amounts of storage, which depending on design can be up to 4 full square loot rooms. It's pretty easy to build and expand, and if you want, the footprint lends itself very good to being floor stacked. Coming to its cons, its strengths are also its biggest weaknesses. All its loot room, how great it might be, is very easy to splash into, not giving a lot of protection. Also, its loot is kinda hard to access, not really making it a viable option for bigger groups, defeating the reason for all the loot storage that you have in the space. Now to the weird 2x1. Many of you probably know this footprint, or know it with an additional 2 triangles in the back. This can be also built with an airlock, as you can see in my upcoming video. The pros of this base is that it's very cheap for the amount of storage you get, and that it's very easy to expand into a lot of good bases. The cons of this base are pretty obvious again, because the loot rooms are so close together.
Baby Juice said because she runs around and stuff.
Damage, both
We
at
don't
the
do that,
same
B.
time. And although the first layer of honeycomb is very cheap, the next one becomes extremely expensive due to you needing to use a lot of squares which are extremely inefficient when it comes to being used as honeycomb.
Baby Juice said we go chill and cuddle and you make me super comfy.
Well known by the ones of you that play in bigger groups, clans or even Zerg. It is just like the 2x2 but with 3 instead of 2 squares on each side. It again is very easy to build, nice and easy to expand, convenient to live in for large groups and able to be fitted out with tons of storage. But in my opinion, the cons outweigh the pros for this footprint. Because you have a lot of loot when you're playing in big groups, you will need to fit in all these loot rooms to the brim. But this opens the base to be very easily raided due to only doors being in the way. Another problem is how most people expand this base. Most commonly, it's into a 5x5 with a layer of honeycomb. This is just super dumb. The peak downs only get in use after
Baby
most
Juice
of
said
the
it's almost 5
base is
a.m.
already raided. Your
Baby
peak
Juice said
downs
I am
should
tired.
be in front of your honeycomb, not behind them. This also means that your base is only 3 walls to TC at max, which may be a lot for a solo, duo or even trio, but for the regular 10-man Zerg that builds this base really isn't a lot. Next up, we will talk about the small circle base. This one is very different compared to the previous ones, due to it not having any squares as the main living area, like all the bases before, but only triangles. This means the base is very easy to expand after having built down the core, which often isn't clear how to do. It is nice to live in, due to your core most of the time being full open and allowing for easy access to all your loot. It is also very easy to upkeep, due to triangles being so efficient with honeycomb, which allows for a lot of protection even if you are solo. But of course the space also has its flaws, unless you lose a lot of materials for anti-splashing, which will also use up a lot of living space. It is very easy
Baby
to
Juice
splash
said why do you feel like
into
that?
the entire core at once.
Baby Juice said
Also,
baby boy.
the base won't have a lot of storage due to 3 triangles, only about having the storage capacity of 1 square, making it unusable for groups of any size bigger than a trio. As you can see,
Baby Juice said
this
stop that
base
right
is
now,
very
pouting face.
similar to the previous one, but instead of using the circle in the center as your core, you will have a ring out of squares all around it for a lot of very easy to access loot. But again, it has similar problems to other bases with those qualities. A lot of loot rooms that are easy to access will mean that it's also easy for the raider to splash into multiple of those at once, making the space design surprisingly easy to raid for the amount it will cost to build. Now we go to this base, for which I don't know a name. If you have one, let me know in the comments down below. This one due to being built around a single triangle, which lends itself perfectly to have a TC inside. This base offers 3 walls to TC for not a huge price.
Baby Juice said you do.
Cons of it are that due to not having any direct loot rooms, but
Baby
only
Juice said
a
every single
corridor
day.
around the TC, you won't have a lot of storage.
Baby Juice said except
and
today.
unlike the TC, all the other things you will own in the space will be pretty easy to raid in comparison. Now we get to a footprint that people who know my channel and my builds will probably remember. I used this one in the Iron Castle, the Iron Fort and even the Iron Fortress. Using this footprint in the way that I did, this footprint offers insane amounts of storage, which will be super hard to fully raid and will have at least 3 walls to TC. But of course it comes with its downsides. This base would be very easy to top down raid, which is why I floor stacked it a lot.
Baby Juice said
It
I know you
also
do.
isn't that easy to build, and even after having built it, accessing all your loot, which is hidden behind multiple drop
Baby Juice said you do more than anyone.
Very hard and annoying. So let's go to the last one of the video. This one is for you.
Baby Juice said 2 hearts.
The 1x3. It has a lot of space in a very small area, kind of like the weird 2x1 I showed before. But unlike that one, this is a lot better to use if you want to have more than 1 layer of honeycomb around your base. But as with most bases that exist in Rust, more than 2 layers of honeycomb become extremely costly, and in this base it is very easy to splash damage into both your loot room, easy to raid in comparison. Now we get to a footprint that people who know my channel and my builds will probably remember. I used this one in the Iron Castle, the Iron Fort and even the Iron Fortress. Using this footprint in the way that I did, this footprint offers insane amounts
Baby Juice
of
said I love you
storage,
too.
which will be
If I go to
super
sleep,
hard
are you
to fully
upset?
raid and will have at least 3 walls to TC. But of course it comes with its downsides. This base would be very easy to top down raid, which is why I floor stacked it a lot. It also isn't that easy to build, and even after having built it, accessing all your loot, which is hidden behind multiple drop downs, will be very hard and annoying. So let's go to the last one of the video. This one is for you, Tetzel. The 1x3. It has a lot of space in a very small area, kind of like the weird tuber one I showed before, but unlike that one, this is a lot better to use if you want to have more than one layer of honeycomb around your base. But as with most bases that exist in Rust, more than 2 layers of honeycomb become extremely costly, and in this base it is very easy to splash damage into both your loot rooms at once. This was the video, thank you all for watching, don't forget to subscribe. If your base offers easy to raid, will be very hard to TC. This footprint builds will be easy to raid in comparison. Now we get to a footprint that
Baby Juice said sure.
I need to find a river. I need to find a place to start my new base.
Baby Juice said on stream can't hear you at all.
Oh shit. Okay, okay. Oh, it's not responding.